I highly recommend getting LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and this is true even if you're not a salesperson, if you're in marketing. I think it's incredible. I think LinkedIn Sales Navigator is one of the best, most reliable ways of getting up-to-date contact information, up-to-date lists, up-to-date leads that you can generate lists for. Now, I've worked with list brokers. I've purchased leads. I've done a lot of these different techniques, and sometimes they're hit or miss. But I would say that LinkedIn Sales Navigator is definitely kind of the default thing that should be in your roster. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through Sales Navigator and how to use other software in conjunction with LinkedIn Sales Navigator to do a real outreach campaign, particularly based around account-based marketing. So kind of the general approach that people often take with LinkedIn ads is they will create something like an ebook or a white paper, and they'll put it behind some sort of capture form. So you have to put in your name and your email to get access to it. The problem is that this is actually a very slow, incredibly inefficient way to collect leads. But really, you're not collecting leads. What you're doing is you're collecting contact information. And it's much faster to get contact information by using LinkedIn Sales Navigator than running ads and creating ebooks and stuff. It's very costly. It might cost you, I don't know, a typical ballpark might be $50 or something to generate leads that way. Now, what I use is a 3-step outreach process. So the first is list building, second is automations, and the last here is personalized outreach. So list building really starts with creating the account list. And a lot of people, what they do in LinkedIn Sales Navigator is they go straight to creating a lead list. Don't do that. Start with the account list. It's more efficient that way. Then you can generate the lead list. Then you can create an email list. Now, the cool thing about the email list is you can import it into LinkedIn advertising and just target those individual emails, or you don't even necessarily need an email list. You might just have a list of companies or a list of individuals and use that for targeting purposes. So when you're in LinkedIn ads, you can't actually target individuals. You can target based on variables like job title, seniority, etc. But if you use Sales Navigator in conjunction with LinkedIn Campaign Manager, then you can get down to the individual level, down to the individual company level. Okay, so once you've built the list, then we can think about automation. So we can automate things like LinkedIn visits, so visits to people's profiles, automate connection requests, automate messages, and we can automate emails as well. What I'd be very cautious about is automating messages in LinkedIn. I think it can seem very spammy, and I'd be very worried about it, particularly if you're going after enterprise accounts or really high-value accounts where they're bombarded with spam anyways, and it's just not going to be super effective. The last step here is the personalized outreach. So this is the less automated, less scalable, we're going to need to collaborate with the sales teams more. And that's going to be doing things like in-mails. So using the credits that you get through LinkedIn Sales Navigator to send individualized messages. We're going to do individual personalized emails, particularly to high-value partners like influencers or to high-value accounts. We're going to do things like direct mail and other sort of outreach techniques that are more custom. So to start, what we do is we go into Sales Navigator, which looks like this, and we start creating account lists. So I would click this thing, account list. You can see I have a bunch of account lists here, and I've named them based on keywords and size of company, etc. And there's a limit to 1,000 for each list, but you can see some of them I only have maybe around 500, and one of these I only have 99. So that's fine. You can build a whole bunch of account lists if you need more than 1,000. So what we would do is we'd do a search, so an advanced search that shows these different filters. And it's cool now that we have a new interface for the searches, and we can actually specify annual revenue, which is great. Now, I don't know where LinkedIn gets that information, how reliable it is, but generally I start with something like headcount, and I say, okay, we're going to target companies that have maybe 50 to 200 employees. We're going to add in maybe small companies, maybe bigger companies than that. We can put in other information here, like department headcount, if that's more relevant, headquarters location. A lot of these I don't usually use, but I'm highlighting with these arrows here the ones that I find most important. Industry, incredibly important. And technology is used as also a very useful thing. So for example, if your product is only compatible with certain CRMs or certain ERPs, you want to specify that if you can. And it's very difficult to get this through other targeting sources or other list brokers. So take advantage of it while you can. Now, once you've compiled your lists using these search filters, so I had here revenue 2.5 to 100 million. You're going to get a list of companies here. You're going to check them off. You can check off all the people visible on the screen. Then you're going to save the list and name it. So you don't want to do all that effort and have it get lost. So the next stage, once you have the account list, is then you do the lead list. Now, the problem with LinkedIn Sales Navigator is it's going to try to force you to generate lead lists by default. You want to keep negating that and clicking account. But once you've completed the account list creation, then you can go to sort of this default option, which is the lead lists and the lead search. So in the lead search, you can see we have various options here. So function like marketing or sales, job title, very important, seniority, very important, years in company, maybe important, years in current position, maybe important. We got school, years of experience, industry could be quite important. But the most important factor here is down here, hidden on the bottom right here, is the account list. Are they in the account list that you're targeting? So if you're doing account-based marketing, you want to target leads, individuals, personas that are within that account. And that's why you need to create the account list first. So once you have your lead lists based on those accounts, or not, I mean, you could go after just individuals if you want and skip the account stage, but it's more scalable if you start with accounts. What you can do is you can extract the email. So I use this tool called scrap.io, which is basically a Chrome extension. I go into the extensions and I click scrap.io email finder, and then it's going to pop up a thing like this. So what I can do is I extract the lead list and then export it to scrap.io, and what it's going to do is it's going to pull all the emails from those people. Now, it's not going to get all of them, but it's going to get a good chunk, enough that you can go then into scrap.io and download an Excel file, which you can see here. So what you would do is you'll have your email list on the left, and you can name it whatever you want, directors of IT, for example, and above that I have here. You're going to get the list of individuals. I've censored them here with their titles. So CTO, Director of Technology, Vice President, maybe of Information Technology. It's going to show me if the email's been verified or not. It's going to give me their emails. And then I can go here to download and download as a CSV. And the other thing that I can do here is I can choose whether or not I want leads that don't have emails, the emails were not found or not. And I can also do that at the export level when it was exported from Sales Navigator into scrap.io. So that's going to give me an email list. Now the question is, what do you do with that email list? Well, you can import it into your cold email tool. So the example I'm using here is Lemlist. You might use Mailshake. If you're a larger company, you're going to use something like SalesLoft or Outreach, which is what I was using in San Francisco. And what you would do is you would go to this upload CSV option. So the CSV file that you downloaded from scrap.io, you upload it in your cold email tool. You can build a series of campaigns around those lead lists that you compiled. The other thing you want to do is you want to validate the emails so that the bounce rate, the rejection rate, is not very high, and your deliverability is going to improve. So I use this tool called Bouncer to verify the emails. Now, Bouncer integrates with Lemlist, so you can see the Lemlist integration. That's the reason that I'm demonstrating that here. And again, you can either upload the file, or what I do is I just pull the list that's already been imported in the Lemlist. So the next thing that you do is you want to set up your automations. So there are different things that you can automate. You can automate LinkedIn visits, invitations, and messages. I'd be very careful with the messages part, but I think automating a LinkedIn visit is a very kind of harmless thing to do, and invitations would probably be pretty similar. The other cool thing is that when you use a tool like Lemlist, you can test entire sequences. So the sequence might be like a cold email, a LinkedIn visit, a LinkedIn message, or multiple emails and follow-ups. And you can test the entire sequence against another. So here I have sequence A, sequence B. When you use something like ActiveCampaign or a lot of these tools that have A/B testing capabilities, they won't let you test the entire sequence. They only let you test individual emails or messages. So that's one cool feature that we have here in Lemlist. Now, you can also test the individual messages as well. So here, I have a macro test of A and B, but then I have a micro test that's just step 3, testing email A versus email B. So for example, sequence A, you might talk about one benefit, and sequence B, you talk about a different benefit and see which one performs better. And then here you're testing individual body copy or individual offers, something like that. Now, what I have here is I have step one is visit the LinkedIn profile, have a delay of a day, and then I do a LinkedIn invitation, and then I wait 3 days and I send a cold email, which ideally is a little bit warmed up because of the LinkedIn interactions. Okay, key things to consider. You want to limit the number of LinkedIn automations and emails. So you don't want to come out of the gate sending 500 emails a day and LinkedIn automations. It's not going to bode well. Not going to be sustainable. So you kind of want to ramp your volume up. So you might start with 30 emails a day, go up to 70, and maybe you get around $100, $200 or 200 emails a day. And if you need more, well, you can set up multiple emails. You can work with SendGrid or whatever, work with your team to have unique IPs and stuff. Some ways around the limitations there. When you're first starting the cold email, use a different domain. So if it's company.com, you want to go with like company.org and, john@company.org. Don't put your main domain at risk. And you want to warm up your new email address. So if it's a fresh email, don't use the built-in warm-up process. So companies like Lemlist have this thing called LemWarm, which will sort of send and receive emails to make you to look credible. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some cold email tips. Now, this is very important because with LinkedIn, we're not just thinking about LinkedIn ads. We're thinking about outreach. We're thinking about account-based marketing. We need to understand that when we're at the bottom of the funnel, we need to be seamlessly integrated with the sales team. And this is something that a lot of business-to-business marketers are realizing now is they need to align with the sales team. So understanding things like cold email is very important, even if you're just focused on LinkedIn marketing. So to understand one of the main mistakes that people make, we need to think about what they do. Usually what they're doing is they're aggressively pushing to get meetings. So, hey, this is Billy. Here's my product. Do you have 15 minutes for a call? Do you have 30 minutes for a call? Would you like to do a demo? Way too aggressive. Don't ask for a meeting in your cold email. It's a huge turnoff. I get a whole bunch of these per day. Don't do it. And it's also validated by research. So we have Gong research based on 300,000 emails. You are 2 times more likely to book a meeting during a cold email when asking your prospect for their interest versus asking for time. So essentially what they're saying is you're more likely to get a meeting if you don't ask for a meeting. Because the problem when you ask for a meeting is you're kind of being selfish. You're kind of saying, well, this is what I want, rather than trying to give them something. Bonus tip here based on Gong research, don't talk about return on investment, ROI, in your initial email. It's too high level. It's too far removed. I think a huge mistake that people make in business-to-business marketing is they think that talking about high-level benefits like saving time, making more money, getting more return on investment is what prospects want to hear. They don't really want to hear that. In most cases, they want to hear about more of the functional details of how you're able to accomplish the outcome that I want. And that means moving from kind of high-level benefits to lower-level functional details about what your product actually does or what your service actually does. Do not ask for a meeting right away. Do not talk about ROI right away. All right, next we have some cold email tips from Harvard Business Review. This comes from Tucker Max. So number 1, tailor the message to the recipient. So it may not be necessarily the individual. That's great if you're targeting high value accounts or influencers. But if you're trying to do it at scale, it may mean tailoring the message to a group of people that have a certain designation or that meet certain criteria. You also want to validate yourself. So maybe you were featured on Fox News. Maybe you have a Harvard degree. Maybe people know who your partner is in the business. Do some sort of validation. Alleviate your audience's pain or give them something they want. So that could be an incentive. That could be, that's my recommendation, not his, about having the incentive. But it could just be the benefit of your offer, for example. Keep it short, easy, and actionable. Now, be cautious about this because the word short is subjective, right? So based on Gong research, what we're talking about here is 30 to 150 words. Now, if it's too long, it's kind of spammy. But if it's too short, you're not giving enough context. You're not giving me enough information to validate why I should respond to you. But if you give a little bit of details about what you do, then that's good. And that can be done in 30 to 150 words. And be appreciative and a little vulnerable. So you need to take a little bit of a submissive role and a less dominant role and put them in the action seat, make it seem like they're in control, which again aligns with our concept of agency that we talked about earlier. Okay, so the third step, now I talked about the three-step process for outreach. The last one here is the personalized outreach. So the stuff that's less scalable, less automated. And within LinkedIn Sales Navigator, we have some cool features. So one is we can see which of our leads in our lists posted on LinkedIn in the past 30 days. And we can have our sales team or our SDR, BDR team comment on those posts and interact, build rapport with them. We can also send these in mail. So we can send a message here, put in a subject line, put in a message that's more tailored than we would be able to do with the automations that we talked about earlier. In the next section, we're going to talk about the most common types of ads. They're very similar to what you see on Facebook feeds, and these are the image and video ads.